What's going on, guys? My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. In this video, we're going to be taking our first look at the Redcat Everest Ascent. This one is the two-piece body. They differentiate that by the color. So the light blue is the two-piece. It's a little more pinched in the nose and the bed of the truck. So it's a little more like aggressive, high clearance competition style bodywork. Then you've got the red truck, which is a little bit less pinched and dovetailed. So looking forward to trying out the blue truck. I've got some really amazing terrain out here that I have access to, and I think we can push the limits on this truck and see what the Redcat Everest Ascent is capable of. This truck has portals, but most importantly, this thing comes in at a crazy $299 MSRP. So it's a really low priced, affordable truck that is also performance minded. So this should be a fun one. I'm very curious to see how this truck does. And for the price tag of $299, it doesn't have to do a lot to do good, but I think this thing will really go above and beyond what we're paying for here. Let's go take it out on the rocks and check it out. All right, guys, so here we are working our way down the trail. This truck is almost entirely box stock. The only thing I did was change out the gearing in the transfer case that is also included with this truck. So I went to the 20% underdrive, meaning that they geared down the axle output in the rear. So that will make your front tires spin faster, help you turn sharper, help it pull up and over obstacles, as well as keep the suspension laid out flat. It is a big benefit in every RC truck, and so having it available right out of the box with the Ascent is awesome. That is the only change I've made to this truck, which again, it was included in the box, so I mean, they kind of anticipated people doing that, I would guess. Nice, our overdrive is helping keep that front settled by the front tires outrunning the rear. Wow, already pulling off some really hard lines out here. That line is not easy, and the Ascent gets it done. That was a great start for this truck. I'm already impressed. This thing's looking good out here on the rocks. So what I would like to do is drive this truck across some lines that I know and have driven before, and then as we go on in the future, I might make a few changes, like some brass portal weights up front, and maybe some wheels and tires, potentially. We'll see how these do. And yeah, then we'll see how the differences compare. So get subscribed, stay tuned if you want to see more Redcat Everest Ascent content. All right, good start so far. Let's go try something else. So out of the box, this truck has internal springs inside the metal shock bodies. What that's gonna do is help keep that nose planted and down on steep climbs. Now, having an internal spring like that also limits the full travel of the shock itself. So you may be able to get a little more articulation if you remove those. However, it depends if you want your front end to stick to the rocks or just have overall more flex. So if you're going to be driving up steep climbs, maybe leave them in. Now, these tires that are included with this truck are very aggressive. They kind of have a Maxxis Trepador style to them. They are not licensed or anything, but they are a glue-on wheel. So they are not a beadlock, which means that your tire will never come off, but that's kind of the problem. These wheels are plastic, and I really like to have aluminum wheels on my crawlers so that it adds a little bit of weight down low. That's kind of where you want the weight in an RC, is on your axle. That's why brass portal weights would be a great idea for this. Trying to get our rear tire up and out of this. It's trapped in a little crack right there. So I'm a little bummed out that they are not at least a plastic beadlock, because I would like to try these tires on a metal beadlock. So I'll have to check out Redcat, see if they are available by themselves. Now, this line is difficult. It gets very steep, and then you really got to nail the line on it. So we're going to need good steering, which this servo that's included is supposed to be a good strong servo, as well as the power sent to the servo from the factory electronics is pretty good. So it gives it a lot of power. Almost. Okay, it's doing really good. It's controlled while vertical. I just needed to get the line right on that. That's kind of my fault there. So there we go. It's staying planted while vertical, so that's good. I think it's gonna get it if I get it right. Ah, very close. So yeah, I can tell that the truck wants to do it. It's that I'm driving it incorrectly. So this is all on me here. The truck's not trying to flip or anything. It's staying very planted. Very impressed so far by this, actually. This is one of the lines I expected it not to make. And then hopefully with upgrades, we would see a difference. It just keeps washing off of that wall with that rear tire. And again, that's my driving. The truck is not flipping over backwards. I expected it to flip over backwards. That was a lot closer. So we gotta try something a bit different to try and get it to work right. See, now it's starting to flip, but I got that left tire completely against the wall. Now the motor and ESC on this does hum and make quite a bit of noise, which I'm not a fan of a loud truck. I prefer them to be very quiet if possible. The other part on this motor in ESC, it's got good torque, it's got some power, it's not very fast, it's about walking speed, and then on top of that, it doesn't have a great downhill control. That should be it. There we go. All right, we did it. Oh, don't get too excited. All right. Picked up the front tire there for a second, but settled back down. Again, I think that's attributed to that overdrive, and I believe it's around 20%, which 20% is really where you start to notice it. 10 or 12% doesn't hurt, but you don't really see the tire difference. And I really see a big difference above that 20% mark. Yeah, this thing's climbing great. Considering it's got very lightweight wheels and tires, I'm actually very impressed by this. I'm liking this thing. Sweet. Tires grabbed on and headed up the hill. The ascent's doing great. And on top of that, we've barely gotten into the bodywork despite pushing it into that narrow canyon. So the pinch nose and dovetailed bed is working out great for us. Now today it is warm and dry on the rocks. These rocks hugely change with temperature and whether there has been rain recently or not. So it's got everything going for it to make this climb, and it cruised right up it just as I would expect. I tried to climb a ledge at the top, got a little greedy. There we go. Avoid the ledge and it drives right on up, no problem. Again, impressed by this so far. This is looking great. I like this so far. Now on my RC trucks, I typically like to see about 1 tire's worth of articulation. And on a truck like this, the tire should be around 4.6 to 4.75. When I articulate this truck on the bench, I can only get about half a tire flex before it picks up its other tire. And if I grab the axles and force it to, then I can get it up to about 3/4 of a tire. Now, this is hugely impacted by shock length and shock angle. Now, credit to Redcat here, they do have adjustable shock positions on the factory flat rail steel chassis. So you are able to tune shock positions, and maybe that will help pick up a little bit of articulation. But as mentioned, if they have internal springs in there, if you remove them, that will also give you a little bit of articulation. Now, some people in the RC world say that too much flex is a bad thing. Now, I'm not saying I want 90 degrees, but I do like to have that about 1 tire mark. So being able to articulate on top of another 4.75 tire is usually right around where I like it. Sometimes traversing terrain like this, just being able to articulate through a crack or a notch or something will keep the truck on all 4 tires rather than lifting one way into the air and then having that weight transfer shift on you. Sometimes it can cause your truck to flip over. So if it articulates more, it stays more stable longer. Now this is my first Redcat truck, so thanks to Redcat for sending this out for me to check out. And this is actually the first one that I've really felt actually like interested in. It's a great price point for a performance-minded truck. And really, it's more the fact of these guys are trying to do something performance-oriented, but the good price tag certainly doesn't hurt me wanting to check this out. I like affordable RCs, and I like high-performance RCs. So this one's checking both boxes there. Now, I played on this the other day with some very capable RCs and was denied, so I don't expect a lot here. This is kind of one of those that maybe with some changes in the future we can get up. but I'm pretty confident we could just wear out our tires sitting here trying to get up this. But I do want to give it a couple attempts just to see how things go. It's really not bad, and it stays pretty predictable. It's not trying to just roll over and flip on me. It feels very performance oriented, if that's fair to say. Nice little save there. Yeah, that's getting in there on the hard lines and staying planted, which is very, very, very important for trying to make it up very difficult obstacles, is being able to get a feel for the truck and not just having it immediately flip. All right, that's another hard line right there. It doesn't look like it, but you got to get that bump right. This truck really pulling off some good lines here. Like, I've seen much more expensive trucks do much worse than what this thing's doing right now. So, absolutely impressed by this little guy right here already. Little throttle happy, but you kind of have to be on something crazy like that. Now here is our 4-channel controller. So what does 4 channels mean? One channel is going to be steering. That's going to control your steering. Then you have channel 2, which is your throttle. Then you have these 2 other optional buttons. With the factory truck, they only have 2 different channels used, meaning that you've got this button right here, which sits in the middle, which would be neutral. Click it forward, neutral, and then back. This would be perfect for a winch. So if you wanted to go out and try an RC competition, picking up one of these trucks, having a winch in it is a huge benefit in an RC competition. And this guy has a perfect button for that. Now, other controllers may be multiple channels, but if it's just a click button like this channel 3, it's not great for a winch. This way you can easily know, hey, I want to go in, so I'll click it back, and then I'll go back to neutral. And then you can go forward and let your winch out. It just works out really good for that. And then it has the additional auxiliary channel, which is channel 3. This is a click button, so most likely an on-off. Now you can use different accessories for that, maybe some lights on the truck that would hook into that, or you know, if you were to modify this to have some other servo where you would want a 2-position servo on there. So really cool that they include that. Also a really big benefit, we have steering EPA. That means end point adjustment, meaning if you turn your truck right and it's not going all the way to the bump stop on the axle, you can increase it and it will turn sharper. So be sure to set your endpoints on here to get the maximum performance out of your Ascent. I really like the included plastic molded bumpers that fit the body really well on this Redcat. Truthfully, I could see myself using these on other bodies of other trucks because they are just low profile and I like their style on them. So really big thumbs up there to Redcat. Okay, now this line sometimes likes just a little momentum, and there's a big drop right here. So we don't want to drop our brand new truck off this ledge. So you can kind of see how it runs away like that. I'm just barely tapping reverse, so it doesn't quite have that fine low speed control that I would love to have in a crawler, but I understand why it doesn't. Yep, it can get you in trouble. I understand why it doesn't. It's because it's more expensive to manufacture something capable of that. So unfortunately with that $299 price tag, you're losing it a bit on the ESC. Now for a brushed motor, you can get a very upgraded ESC for that from Hobbywing. It's called the 1080. The new one is the G2. I would highly recommend picking one of those up. They're like 46 to 50 bucks. Absolutely worth it, and you will notice a big performance difference if you were to put a 1080 in this truck. Okay, front tires get light, not quite getting the fronts hooked up and over. This is absolutely one of the obstacles that can make or break this trail. And I'm not surprised if it doesn't do it. This would be an absolute instance where a little more forward weight and maybe a little bit finer motor control would be a big benefit. Whew, fell off the ledge, but was able to mostly stop it on the way down. So instead of beating up our truck, we'll move on to the next obstacle. This is something that will come back with future upgrades and see if it can handle it after that. So we got ourselves about a 20-foot ledge over there. Let's see if our truck can keep it all together and fine crawl this controlled without falling off our cliff. To date, I've driven probably 40 trucks up here, 40 different RCs, and have not had one fall off yet. So it'd be really sad if the Redcat breaks that streak. Trying to get that front tire hooked up here. Yeah, I need to reset my rears a little bit different. Work them over here. We're gonna come across on a little more of an angle. So again, this is getting back to me picking bad lines versus the truck not working. Meaning the truck's working just fine. I'm just basically driving it poorly. There it goes. Nice. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it actually articulated so much it picked up a tire. Now, it's on an incline crawling and it's still tipped towards the front. That is a really good sign. It means that we have more weight in the front of this truck than the rear of this truck. So on steep climbs like that, it's gonna help get you better traction up front and help it stay stable while trying to go up something steep. Now keep in mind, I've got a 4200 3S pack that sits right under this toolbox right here in the truck. So if we were to decrease the battery size and find a place to mount it further forward, then we would actually get more forward weight bias. So this thing could be really killer if we find a new place for the battery and use a smaller pack. Now, the truck came with a Dean's adapter, and I don't have any other batteries besides that one with the Dean's connector. So that's why it's in there, and that's why we're using it. Another defining obstacle that I don't know if the truck will do factory, but perhaps with upgrades will do, is this bump right here. A little wild. Went for a ride, but yeah, it's staying planted with the nose down until I back up. This is very steep, and so we're trying to get that overdrive to really pull the nose of the truck up the hill. See, really good work. Once you get this steep, it's very hard to keep a truck planted. And then especially bumping it aggressively like this. I'm liking it so far, Redcat. Good work, guys. I really like this truck. $299 price point? Man, I might have to get me a couple more. Now, I am curious about the durability of this. This does have Gen 9 portal axles, so there should be some upgrades out there. I know Triel is carrying brass upgrades and aluminum upgrades for different components. My advice, guys, don't put brass on the chassis, don't put brass on the rear axle. Just keep it up front. That's where you want your brass. Oh, I should have stayed in that. It had it. Our bumper doing a great job of not getting hung up on that wall as well. So we're learning a lot of things on this obstacle. So close. Like, it's so close, I think it'll get it. I just need to get a little more lucky with it. It's not gonna be quite like a controlled point and shoot every time, but on occasion, I think it can pull it off. Let's see if I'm right. All right, so it's not making it right now. Like I say, I'm pretty confident it could do it if you get that lucky bounce. But I think with just a few more upgrades, a little more forward, low weight, and I think it would stay planted better and get up this wall. All right, guys, I want to call out Redcat right here. They've done a previous, I think it was a Gen 8. They did a Gen 8 Axe edition, which is a Hobbywing brushless system in the truck from the box. I would love to see an Ascent Axe or Fusion edition. Getting a Hobbywing brushless motor combo from Redcat out of the box. And with this truck, if they can get it to you like this for $299, you know, tack on another $100 for $400. If I can get a Fusion with it, I am in, and I am happy to send them that money. This thing's performing great, and if I could just get that smooth Hobbywing performance from the motor, I'm all about it. I'm trying to just finesse crawl this. Oh dear. Whew. All right. Now, I've shown quite a few obstacles to this point where it hasn't made it. Don't let that be a reflection that this is not a good truck. That's not true at all. This thing's driving great. I'm trying really difficult obstacles to see where its limits are and see if we can change its limits in the future. There may even just be some DIY stuff that you could do to this truck to make it work, but I think we could change the performance on this just enough to make it start driving up these obstacles in the future. Oh, is it going? It's going. By the way, every time it rolls, it's about to fall off a cliff, so I'm trying to avoid that if possible. So far, guys, very impressed with the Redcat Ascent. The steering servo has been awesome. It's got good torque, and I really haven't been limited by it at all in the lines that I'm taking. And I'm trying aggressive stuff, so stuff where the truck gets bound up, and typically the servos don't like to turn. This thing for an RTR servo is actually really good. Right there, it's just getting tippy. That front driver tire is way up on a rock. Now it's got soft inserts on the tires. You can see them working and conforming to the rocks, which is nice. Unfortunately, on a side hill, that usually means that they roll underneath themselves and you slip further down the hill. Yeah, we're gonna say that they can't do this right now. That's okay. It's still hanging right in there. I like it, it's predictable, it's doing good things. Look at the smooth belly on this guy. Nice flat skid with the flat rail design on here, and then these smooth sliders. Redcat did a great job with this. I actually really like this. Your motor sits forward and has a forward motor mount, so your pinion and spur sit up front, and it has a small drive shaft that takes it back to the transfer case. This is where our underdrive comes in. I changed out gears in the transfer case to slow down the gearing to the rear axle. Like, it's a great design. Big thumbs up so far. It's driving as good as, probably exceeding my expectations at this point. So going into this review, knowing that it's a $300 truck, my expectations were lowered for what it would have to do to be an impressive and or good truck to me. However, the performance is way above its price tag, and it's done better than I thought it would. So even if it were a more expensive truck, I would still be impressed, is what I'm trying to say. So right here, that crazy line that I just took that doesn't make any sense, that was part of an RC Krawler competition course that I had made up and held a competition on. So the fact that I'm trying RC Krawler competition lines at this point is a good sign. It means that I think this thing is very capable, and I'm really testing its performance. So we're trying hard stuff with a $300 RC. So that should tell you that I'm really liking it. It's doing really good. Even if it were a $400 RC, it's still doing good. Like, to me, it's not necessarily about the price. It's just, does it perform? The price is a huge benefit, sure. But if you want to drive up some stuff for not a lot of money, this is your answer here, guys. Redcat's coming out swinging with this. The tires are getting good traction. The inserts are soft enough to let them work. They do roll over on side hills, but that's just the nature of a soft foam. This thing's doing really good. Like, I hate to repeat myself over and over, but you know, I'm having a good time. I'm having fun with it. That's key as well with an RC. So this is what I'm talking about. Having a little more articulation would be nice. See that back tire picked up in the air, and if it were to have picked the front tire up because of the limited articulation and then fell forward, the momentum of that fall can cause you to roll. So that's why I like to have a little more articulation than what this guy does. It's not stopping me from getting over a lot of things, but just in those little instances, it helps. Like, it's going to roll back on that back tire here in a second. Oh, maybe not. Again, with the forward weight bias, huge good thing if it can float that back tire. This is a good thing. You want forward weight bias. And that overdrive pulled it right around the corner, cruised up, made it look good. Nice work here, guys. I'm excited about this. I'm even more excited than I was. Now I know this thing's got some real potential. Yeah, bring it on. Sweet. Just hoping this thing continues to impress in the future. All right, guys, let's pop open this body, take a peek underneath what's in here, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So the body actually has 2 body posts in the bed, and then the cab has a little spot on the slider that helps support the cab. It pops up and then it slides forward. There's a little plastic connector up front. There we go. It's a little tricky. Yeah, it basically holds on to the tube in the nose of that. And it's got a solid plastic bar right here, which is replaceable. That's good. If you ever take a hard slam on the nose and break that, easily replaceable. Big thumbs up there, Redcat. Like I mentioned, big battery pack held on the rear of the chassis here. It's not a horrible position for a battery, but if you were to get a smaller battery and be able to mount it in this range, that would be better. And I would prefer to do it on this side since the motor is offset. So again, forward motor, so it's bolted up here to a metal plate. It looks steel. And we got our spur and pinion up front. We got our short drive shaft that takes us back to our transfer case. To change out those underdrive gears, I removed this screw and took the drive shaft off, and you change out your gears. It's super simple. They did a great job with being easy to work on there. We got our ESC tucked up front here by our servo. Our servo, I had no complaints about. It's the Hexfly torque spec. I think with the factory setup, they said it's about 25 kg worth of servo, although with more voltage to it, it is capable of more. But with the factory setup, you're only getting that 25 kg. 4-link in the rear, which is great, double triangulated. You got metal bodied shocks. It's a steel chassis. Hopefully Redcat comes out with an aluminum or a carbon option. Maybe aftermarket companies will do that for us, but I would like to see that from Redcat themselves. And yeah, overall, great chassis design. Got some good cross bracing here. They are removable shock towers here. The bumpers are smooth and high quality feeling, and yeah, they tuck away nicely. Our shocks are fairly short because they're mounted to the very top of the portal. Typically, you will see the shock mounted down lower, closer to where your link position in. Now, the links on the bottom side of this guy were kind of what I had some head scratching moments on. They're very narrow on the axle itself. If you were to push those out a little bit, it would help get them up by the portal C's and get rid of some of the hang-up points potentially on this axle. Now, this is something I think we could do DIY later. I just wanted to drive it firsthand out of the box. I think we can flip these link mounts on the axle and just flip them 180 degrees and then use this different hole here once it is on the bottom. And I think that'll give you a smooth bottom side to your axles. So outside of that, it looks pretty good. We got universal joints. We have a large diameter smooth link with a rod end that is a very similar diameter. So it should smoothly slide from the steel to the plastic across the belly and on down the truck. The sliders are smooth. A smooth belly on a truck is very important. A lot of RC companies get this wrong and it drives me crazy. They put like ribbing and stuff all along the sliders. That's not what you want. You want this. This guy looks good. So big thumbs up, Redcat. Yeah, the Redcat Everest looking fantastic for $299. I can't argue that at all. Well, that's gonna wrap up my first drive with the Ascent, and it more than impressed me. It's better than I thought it was going to be, and I would be willing to pay more money than what they're charging for it, as is. So, I mean, I've only got good things to say, truthfully. There are things that I'm going to change, but I change stuff on every level of RC, whether, you know, it's one of my custom-made buggies or any other brand. I like to change stuff to make it my own. That's what's fun about this, is that we can do that and throw our style at it. But for a baseline starting package, this thing's pretty damn awesome, I gotta admit. So hopefully its durability keeps up with the performance, and we can see some awesome offerings in the future from Redcat. So thanks again, Redcat, for sending this my way. It's the first time that I've worked with these guys, and I'm more than happy to do it again. That was a cool, fun truck, and looking forward to future releases from these guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If this review helped influence you in your decision whether to buy one or not, if you buy one online, please use my affiliate link. I would appreciate it. But go to your local hobby shop, man. Those guys need it too. Go support your locals. I'm gonna go to Sky RC for all the upgrades that I need. Sky RC Hobby Shop in St. George, Utah. And I go there more often than I shop online. So I hope you guys are doing the same and helping support the industry. Thank you guys very much for watching. My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. We'll see you guys on the next one. Keep the rubber side down.